Hey everyone, I'm Antonio, and today Robin and I are going to show you how to remove and install a bathroom mirror. Whether you have a builder grade mirror, a framed mirror, or even one built in with lighting, we've got you covered today.
That's right. In this workshop, we'll guide you through every step of removing an old mirror and preparing your space for a new installation. Whether your mirror is held in with clips or glued to the wall, we'll show you how to safely take it down. If your mirror was installed with adhesive, we'll walk you through the best techniques to remove it while minimizing breakage and ensuring a smooth process. After the mirror is removed, you might find that your drywall needs repairs before installing a new one. We'll demonstrate how to properly patch and smooth out your walls so that your new mirror sits flush and secure. We'll also go over how to find the right placement for your new mirror and explore different mounting techniques, whether you're using hardware or adhesive.
Yeah, and if your new mirror includes built-in lighting or like an anti-fog feature, that means electrical connections are involved. And Robin, she's an electrical guru, and I are going to walk you through the process of making a safe and secure electrical connection so that your mirror functions properly and safely.
By the end of this workshop, you'll have all the knowledge and confidence you need to safely remove an old mirror, repair any damage, and install a brand new one, making sure it's level, secure, and functional. Let's get started.
Let's go. Now, it's important to understand how that mirror is attached to the wall. Most bathroom mirrors are either going to be held in place with hardware clips or secured with adhesive. That's some type of glue, which means removing the mirror without confirming this information may cause things like cracks on the glass, may shatter that glass, and it can also damage your drywall. Now, Robin, let's walk through identifying how this mirror is going to be attached to the drywall.
Absolutely. So we're going to start by closely inspecting the edges of the mirror. If you see like small plastic clips or metal clips, metal brackets or sliding clips with visible screws, your mirror is likely secured using hardware. Now, these clips are often screwed directly into the wall and hold the mirror in place at the top and bottom or along the sides. However, some installers will use adhesive in addition to the clips for extra stability. So we'll prepare for both possibilities. If your mirror has no visible clips, brackets, or screws, it's most likely attached with adhesive glue. This is a common installation method, especially for larger mirrors where a strong bonding agent like construction adhesive or mirror mastic is applied directly to the back of the mirror and pressed onto the wall. Adhesive mounted mirrors can be more challenging to remove because the glue creates a firm hold, and pulling it too hard without the right technique can result in shattered glass or significant drywall damage.
Yeah, so to start off, we're going to confirm whether that adhesive is present, and we're going to try to gently press on different areas of that mirror. And if it doesn't shift or move at all, that's a good strong sign that it is glued in place. Now, another trick is to slide a thin putty knife or plastic pry tool behind one of the edges of the mirror, and if it meets resistance all the way across and doesn't encounter any gaps where clips may be, that means adhesive is likely the primary method of attachment. Now that we know what to look for, let's move on to preparing the workspace before starting that removal process. Let's take some important safety precautions first to protect ourselves, your workspace, and your home. Mirrors can be heavy and fragile, and removing them, well, they can create sharp edges or even lead to that breakage we spoke about.
So we want to start by securing the surface of the mirror to minimize the risk of glass shattering if it breaks. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we want to make sure that the mirror does not crack. We are using carpet shield, which I think is great. This stuff, inexpensive, completely sticky, so you can stick it to the surface of the mirror, right? And then just roll it up. Awesome. And then Antonio, if you could give me a cut.
You got it.
You're in there. We'll take a cut. Hopefully, let's do a nice clean cut across. Yep, good. All right. Don't worry about the little, the hooks or anything at this point. And it gets a little, sticky. It's kind of like working with saran wrap. But This is great because if it cracks, this is going to keep all of the pieces into place. So we'll go down here.
And usually you'll see people use painter's tape or some other kind of heavy duty tape. Still works just as great. This is just additional reinforcement, like Robin said, in case if something does break.
Can you let me hit this end? Yeah, let me get this side. There you go. And then you can cut from there over. Perfect. All right, so this just helps keep everything together. You can use the tape, which is great. If you are going to use tape, regardless of what kind, painter's tape, masking tape, duct tape, you want to make sure you're going corner to corner on both sides to make a big X, and then also up and down in a couple of places. Try to get as much coverage as you can.
I love that tip because it just gives you additional assurance, so there's like nothing, it gives you the best chance of if something happens, worst case scenario, you're still covered. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's the easiest, and it's relatively inexpensive. You buy a roll of good tape, it's going to cost you almost as much as the carpet shield.
There you go.
So if you're working with a very large mirror, you may also want to apply multiple layers of tape or film for extra reinforcement. Right? You just want to keep that all together and as sturdy as possible.
Yep, good call up. Next, we're going to protect the surrounding area. So that means it's a good idea to cover any nearby light fixtures or any fixtures in general. Start by laying down things like a heavy drop cloth to cover the floor. If you've got that vanity, a countertop, or sink that's directly under that mirror.
Right. If the mirror is located above a toilet, place a thick towel or blanket over the lid to prevent damage from falling pieces. For light fixtures or wall-mounted hardware near the mirror, loosen or remove them if possible to avoid obstructions during removal. If your mirror is close to a wall with a painted or wallpapered surface, use painter's tape to cover the edges where the mirror meets the wall. This can help prevent damage to the wall finish as you work.
That's right. Proof it in every capacity. It's like baby proofing a room.
Exactly.
Right? Kid proofing a room. All right, safety gear. That's also really important, just as important as prepping the area.
Yeah.
Always wear things like heavy-duty work gloves to protect your hands from sharp edges, as well as safety glasses or goggles to prevent flying debris from getting into your eyes. All right. If you're removing a large or really heavy glued mirror, consider wearing a long sleeve shirt or even a lightweight jacket to protect your arms from glass fragments as well.
Yeah, it's really important to stay safe. You're working with glass.
You're covering all bases. You never know, worst case scenario.
Absolutely. It's also a good idea to have a helper on hand, especially if the mirror is large or heavily secured. Having someone to assist you can make it easier to control the mirror as it comes loose and can help prevent it from falling or shattering unexpectedly.
Yep.
If you're working alone, set up a soft landing spot by stacking old blankets or foam padding against the wall below the mirror.
There you go.
You just want a soft landing spot.
Yeah, protect.
Yep.
All right, now once that mirror is secured and your work area is fully protected, well, guess what? You're ready to rock and roll and remove that mirror. Now, if your mirror is held in place with clips, you're going to need to remove them in a specific order to keep the mirror stable and prevent that mirror from shifting or falling. So first, take a look at those clips and see how are they located. Some are clear plastic with a small little screw that might hold them into the wall, while others might be a spring-loaded clip. It might be a slide into a metal bracket type of setup.
So for your standard screw-in clips, you're going to want to use a Phillips or flathead screwdriver to loosen and remove the screws. If the clips are spring-loaded, you'll need to gently push up or down on the clip to release the mirror. If you're dealing with metal brackets, you might have to slide the mirror upwards or to the side to free it.
Yeah, start by removing the side clips. That's like a best practice there. Think of how, it's engineered and secured. This prevents that shifting and prevents it from possibly falling or tipping over onto you. Now, if your mirror is large, like we mentioned, having that helper, Robin and I, we partner together. That's a great way to take on many projects. It just gives you that additional support as you're working. Now, once those side clips are off, hold the mirror firmly and remove the top clips next. Keep that bottom supported. This is the point where the mirror may start tipping forward. So having that helper is going to be really good and just making sure you have a solid grip on that.
Absolutely. So the last thing you want to remove are the bottom clips. With nothing left securing it, the mirror should lift straight up and away from the wall. If it doesn't budge, there may be a small amount of adhesive or caulk holding it in. If you see caulking around the edges of a mirror, use a sharp utility knife to score it for easier removal.
Yeah, and a quick tip with that is always try to cut away from your body anytime you're using a utility knife. I can't tell you how many times I've seen slips or something tripping on, and then if you're cutting towards you, well, there you go. Now you've got a nick and a whole nother set of problems.
But the other good safety tip for that is, remember, if you are going to use a utility knife, sharp blade. Put a brand new blade in it. Everybody is scared of a sharp blade, but
safer.
It's way safer because it's going to cut through the material. A dull blade, you're going to be pulling on it, and that's when it slips. So keep your blades really sharp on your utility.
That's a good life tip. To say sharp is like, if you're in the kitchen, have a sharp knife. If you're working on a DIY project, make sure your tools are sharp. Right. If you're mowing your lawn, sharp blades or sharp blades. Just keep them
absolutely
sharp. All right. Now, if your mirror is glued to the wall and you want to remove it in one piece, which we really recommend, that's the goal. The key is to work slow and evenly to avoid cracking it. Start by inserting things like shims. They could be wood or composite, and put those around the edges to create a larger and larger gap slowly between the mirror and the wall.
Now, shims help distribute that pressure evenly so the mirror doesn't flex too much. Once you have a small opening, you can use a thin putty knife or mirror removal tool and carefully work it behind the mirror, starting at the corners.
Yeah, and if that adhesive is as stubborn as I am at times, you might need to use a little heat gun, or even a hair dryer could do the trick. What this does is it applies low heat to soften that glue behind the mirror, makes it a little easier to separate without putting too much force on the glass.
Yeah, that is the key, is keeping as little force as you can on the glass. You don't want to just start going from one corner. You want to make sure you're spreading everything out. You want to keep working your way around that mirror in small sections. If it starts to loosen, you want to have that helper on hand to support the front and prevent it from falling forward. Once it's fully detached, lift it away and place it in a safe location.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
Low and slow here. Because once it's free, place that mirror on a protected surface like that moving blanket, or maybe even a piece of cardboard to avoid damaging it. And if you plan to reuse it, which we recommend, maybe upcycle, repurpose it.
Sure.
Store it upright against a wall with a cushion possibly behind it, just to prevent it from falling.
Yeah, great tip. Now that the mirror is off the wall, you'll likely have some adhesive residue left behind. This can be from construction glue, double-sided tape, or old caulk. Using a putty knife or a 5-in-1 tool, carefully scrape away any remaining adhesive. Work at a low angle to avoid digging too deeply into the drywall.
Yeah, and if the adhesive is really stubborn again, we have those days, right? You can apply a little heat again of that hairdryer or that heat gun on a low setting to soften it before scraping. Just a little tip, if you've never used a heat gun or a hairdryer for a DIY project, best tip is don't keep that heat in one spot. Move in a circular motion to avoid overheating that one spot. It'll still do the trick. Trust, again, just patience in the process here.
Yeah.
Because if not, you could damage that wall and cause other problems.
Right.
Now, there still is a little bit of residue left, Robin, after we're scraping. You can try using things like a damp sponge with a mixture of warm water and a few drops of dish soap. That might do the trick to help break it down.
To help break it down and clean it up.
Yep.
Right. So as you scrape, you might notice some drywall paper peeling away. That's completely normal. We'll fix it in the next step. But if you have large sections of torn paper, avoid pulling at it. This can make the damage worse. Instead, cut away any loose edges with a utility knife to create a clean surface for repairs. You don't want to wind up pulling out chunks of drywall attached to that paper. So
it's like when you get a cut and you get a scab. Don't pull it. Don't pull on the wallpaper.
Don't pull on the wallpaper.
That torn paper. Now, once you have removed the adhesive and any loose drywall paper, wipe down the entire area of that wall with a damp cloth or a dry microfiber towel to remove remaining dust. Sometimes this can be done with a tap cloth too. This is important because we just don't want any leftover dust to interfere with adhesion of the patching material.
Now, if you have any of that exposed or torn drywall paper, you're going to need to seal it to prevent it from bubbling under the patching compound. You need to have a nice sealed surface for that patching compound. So you want to use something like a drywall sealer like the R999 or any type of shellac-based primer. You're just going to go ahead and brush it over the damaged areas, and this is going to create a strong sealed base to prevent that paper from absorbing too much moisture. You've got to let it dry completely before moving on. So make sure you read that can for how long that has to dry. It can be as much as a couple of hours for it to dry.
It's called the waiting game for a reason.
That's
Now,
for sure.
once that sealer is dry, it's time to proceed with repairing the drywall. You can use a putty knife to apply a thin layer of joint compound over any larger damaged areas. For small holes or gouges, you can use spackle.
So Antonio, what is the difference between drywall compound and spackle?
Well, I mean, they're really kind of interchangeable, but they behave differently. So think of it this way. If you've got larger areas to repair, you're going to want to defer to drywall or joint compound. It just does take longer to dry and to work with.
Okay.
So if you have to add an additional coat, sand for that, think about that timing-wise. Spackle kind of expedites the process. Now, it's great for those smaller holes because it's quick. Sometimes it has a color-changing feature, so it's easy to see when it's ready and dry.
Right.
But it does shrink. So that means depending on your repair, you may need to apply multiple coats again. But again, the benefit is for those smaller holes, it's quicker to apply and it's a little easier to work with despite the shrinkage that happens with it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think you can get around that just by kind of overfilling those holes a little bit, right? Don't try to go real smooth. You could take off, a little bump with the sandpaper.
That's the beautiful part about this. It's very forgiving because once you apply it, you can just sand it off. So it's not like, oh no, I did this, I can't change this.
Right.
It's got a lot of wiggle room.
Absolutely. Now, after applying the first coat of whether you're using the spackle or the drywall compound, let it dry for at least a few hours or according to those manufacturer's instructions. Once it's dry, you're going to go ahead and lightly sand it with a medium grit sanding sponge or a fine grit sandpaper. We want to smooth out any ridges. Make sure you wipe away all of that dust and then apply a second coat if necessary to build up to a seamless finish. What we always say here is you want to feather it out, okay? So you want to make sure that around the edges of the patch, you don't feel anything when you rub your hand over it, that it's completely smooth all the way across the surface, because that's once you paint it, then it's just going to be smooth. So you want to keep repeating that sanding process until that wall is completely smooth.
Absolutely, there you go. Now that the wall is repaired, it's smooth, it's time to prime. And priming is important, it's crucial because it prevents that patched area from absorbing paint differently than the rest of the wall.
Right. So before applying that primer, again, we want to make sure that that wall is completely clean. Use that microfiber cloth or a tack cloth to wipe away any remaining dust from sanding. If there's still kind of any adhesive residue left, lightly dampen a cloth with warm water and wipe it down. Just make sure that that wall is 100% dry before moving forward.
That's right, the drier the better. Now, choosing the right primer is also important. So because if you're working with a lot of patch spots, a drywall primer sealer will help blend everything together. But if you still see leftover glue stains or maybe extreme discoloration, it might be good to use a stain blocking primer to be the go-to option. This will help prevent any marks from showing through when you're doing the finished paint.
Right. You just want to look, there's primers out there for everything.
There's a lot of.
So some of them are combinations, some of them are not. Like I said, before with the paper, we were using a drywall sealer. You have sealers, you have primers. Just read the label.
Yeah, get that added confirmation.
Right. And make sure that you are using the appropriate primer. All right. So once you have your primer ready, decide how you're going to apply it. For small patches, a brush works just fine, right? Because it can give you control over where you're applying it. If you're priming a large area, a short nap roller, something around 3/8 of an inch or less, is going to give you a smoother finish without too much texture.
Yeah, you can start by cutting in around the edges with a brush. That's always the first step. Make sure to overlap into the surrounding wall slightly, just so you don't end up with obvious patch lines later too.
Right. You always want to work with that wet edge. We've talked about that before.
That blending.
Right, that blending. We want to switch to the roller and apply the primer to the rest of the wall using that W or M pattern. Roll in light, even strokes and don't overload your roller. You want a thin, smooth coat. That's what's going to look best.
Absolutely. And now just let the primer dry completely. Most primers are going to dry in about 30 minutes to an hour, but again, check the label just to be sure.
Absolutely. So after it's dry, run your hand over the surface. If you feel any rough spots or notice dried brush marks, lightly sand those out with like a 220 grit. That's a real fine grit sanding sponge to smooth everything out. And again, got to wipe off that dust. That dust can be a killer when you put paint on things.
Yeah, a little tip with sandpaper is the higher the grit, the smoother the finish or the texture is going to leave behind. Now, guess what, folks? They're ready to paint.
All right.
All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to apply the paint in the same manner we talked about with the primer. So we're going to talk about starting to cut in the edges with the brush and then use that short nap roller and apply that same painting motion in the W or M pattern to evenly spread it across the wall.
Avoid overloading your roller to prevent drips and streaks. Let the first coat dry completely before applying a second one for the best finish.
Yep, and now that the paint is dry, it's time to prepare for installing that brand new mirror. Now the 24-inch by 30-inch LED mirror that we are installing, it uses a hook and anchor type system, which means we're gonna need to install screws into the wall at the right height so the hooks on the back of the mirror can hang safely and securely to the wall.
Right. So we're going to start by finding the center of the vanity. We used the single faucet as the center point for this install. Next, you want to measure how high the mirror should sit. A good guideline is to have the center of the mirror about 57 to 65 inches from the floor. If there is a wall light fixture above the mirror, make sure to leave enough clearance between the mirror and the fixture. Now, before installing any hardware, use a stud finder to check if there are studs behind the marked areas. If the studs are present, you can drive those screws directly into them for extra stability. If there are no studs, we'll need to install drywall anchors to ensure the screws can support the mirror's weight.
Yep, now let's refer to the mounting hook locations on the back of the mirror. Measure the distance between them and transfer those measurements to the wall. You can use a level to mark the exact spots where the anchor screws are going to go.
Right. Once your marks are made, drill pilot holes into the wall at each marked spot. If you're using drywall anchors, tap them into the holes until they're flush with the wall, then drive the anchor screws into place, leaving about 1/4 of an inch of space between the head of the screw and the wall. This gap allows the mirror hooks to slide on easily.
Now we can go ahead and do a dry test to see the exact positioning of the mirror. Carefully lift the mirror and align the hooks on the back with those anchor screws. Lower the mirror into place so that it sits firmly on that mounting hardware.
Now step back and check that the mirror is level and centered. If it looks crooked, remove it and make small adjustments to the anchor screws.
Yeah, and again, use that level to give you that added confidence and peace of mind that you got it placed level.
Absolutely.
And even. Now, once we're happy with the placement, we'll remove the mirror once again so that we can go ahead and continue completing the wiring before the final installation.
Right.
Now, if your mirror is like this one and includes things like built-in lighting or an anti-fog feature, then you have two options for powering it. First one, you can simply use the provided plug, which we got right here. We cut it off, so little FYI, you cut it off. That's going to connect straight into the outlet. That's the simplest way, but if you don't want to do that, you want a better look, you can hardwire it into your home's electrical system for a more permanent, seamless installation. Now, we'll show you both options so you can decide which one's going to work best for you and your skills.
Right. The easiest way to power your mirror is simply plug it into a nearby GFCI protected outlet. First, locate the power cord attached to the back of the mirror and make sure it can reach the outlet without stretching or straining. If the outlet is too far away, you may need to reposition the mirror or install a new outlet closer to the vanity.
Now, once it's plugged in, you'll notice the power cord is visible. And to keep this installation looking clean, you can use a self-adhesive paintable cord cover to hide it. Now this is a flexible, hollow plastic channel that adheres to the wall and encloses the cord inside. We've got a little demonstration here of what this looks like, and you can see it's got like that little tape in the back with the protective piece, so we can remove that tape, and as that'll stick on and get nice and flush on the wall. And when we're doing the cord, this is kind of just starting at that edge opening, and you just kind of have to work it in. Now it might be a little tight, but once you kind of push it in, you see it pops right in, and beautiful thing is like, hey, where's that cord gone? Well, it's hidden by the cord cover.
All right, let's see if we can get it.
So it's kind of nice. Once you get that cord completely in, it gives you wiggle room so you can make some minor adjustments if you need to and you have enough length.
Now, if you're going to go around different pieces, these cord covers, they usually come in like 5 or 6 foot strips. They can be cut like we did with this one. They also come with a variety of connectors. So you can make right angles with these or 45-degree angles. They have a variety of different connectors so you can run this in the least conspicuous place. The other really great thing about these, because they are self-adhesive, once you get the cord in, you just peel the back and stick it straight to the drywall. You might want to use a level to make sure that it's going straight across the wall. That's up to you. Or you can run it right down along a cabinet or something like this. But these are also paintable. So you could paint them the same color as your wall to kind of help them blend in with the wall.
They'll never know. No one will ever know.
No one will know. All right, so we're going to measure that distance from the mirror to the outlet. Then, using a pair of scissors or a utility knife, cut the cord cover to the length you need. Many cord covers have a hinged or snap-together design, so gently open it, tuck the power cord inside, and then press it closed. Once the cord is secured inside, peel off the adhesive backing and press the cover firmly against the wall, starting at the top and working your way down.
Now you can position the cover along the edge of a backsplash or the corner of a wall to make it a little less conspicuous.
Right.
And for even a cleaner look, you can paint it like Robin mentioned before with that latex-based paint that matches your wall that you're putting it on. Just make sure to allow enough time again to let it fully dry before using the mirror.
Absolutely. Once the cord is secured and the mirror is functioning properly, the plug-in installation is complete. But if you want a more permanent solution without a visible cord, we'll walk you through the hardwiring process.
Here we go. So the first step is to shut off power at the source. So that means going to your breaker, and this is to avoid any electrical hazards. We also want to recommend using a voltage tester just to double check that the circuit is completely off before proceeding.
Yeah, there is an electrical box behind the light fixture on your wall, when you can tap into that to supply power to the mirror. Access the electrical box by removing the light fixture from the wall, gently pulling it away to expose the electrical wiring. Carefully disconnect the wires by loosening the wire nuts.
Now, once you have access to the electrical box, drill a small hole in the wall behind where the mirror will hang. This hole is going to allow you to run the mirror's power cord through the wall and into the electrical box. You're going to want to use a fish tape to help feed through that cord. Now you could also use a hole saw brush wall plate to cover that hole and allows the wires to come through. Now, if you're going to use this, make sure to feed the wires through the wall plate before pulling the cords through the wall. Then you can use a fish tape to help feed that cord through to the top.
Right. Now, when the power cord is through the wall, we're going to strip the wires using a pair of wire strippers. Expose about a ½ inch of copper from each wire so they can be connected properly. Match the wires from the mirror to the existing house wiring, black to black for the hot, white to white for the neutral, and green or bare to green or bare for the ground.
So when we're making these electrical connections, we can use wire nuts, or we talked about Wagos, which is just another term for lever nuts. Robin, let's talk about this in a little more detail.
Okay, so lever nuts are a great addition. That's what this is. You can see it has these little levers, which is why they call them lever nuts. These have 3, all right, and you can insert your 3 different wires into this. So this is what we used. So the way that they work is when you have your wire that you're connecting, okay? You have your wire nut. I'm going to slide those out of the way. You have your wire nut. You want everything kind of coming in the same side here. So I'm going to start with my bare wire. Remember, the bare always goes to green. And then drop the lever. And then I'm going to take the green from our light fixture. Now again, this is stranded wire. If you can see it, you see how it's a bunch of different strands, kind of a little messy. We want to make sure that we take that stranded wire and kind of twist it so it looks almost like a solid wire, just so that it makes it easier to go into the lever nut. And then we go ahead and slide that in and shut the lever. Now with this, if it has a coating on it, you don't want to see any bare wire. Since this is the ground wire, it's not that important. So we're going to do it again with our hot wire. So can I have another wiggle? All right. So we opened 2 of the levers. Okay. So we're going to put the twist the stranded, put it into our little Wega, drop the lever, then take our solid one, put it in, and drop the lever. So now, if you notice, there is no bare wire hanging out from the bottom of the lever nut, okay? Now, if you are going to use a wire nut, a couple of things about wire nuts. First thing with wire nuts is you want to make sure that you are using the correct size. There are different sizes. A lot of times it'll tell you what it will take. So an orange wire nut will take 2 18-gauge wires up to 2 14-gauge wires, okay? So these are 14-gauge wires. The strandeds, I believe, are 18s. With a stranded and a solid wire, you want to go ahead and twist it like you did before. But when you put the wires together, it's hard to hold on to these. When you put the wires together, you want to make sure that your stranded wire is a little bit further ahead than your solid wire. So you see how on that tip, that's a little further ahead than the solid wire.
So
like that.
The stranded wire stands taller than the solid wire.
Absolutely.
When you're using
a wire nut
connection.
Because that's going to help it twist. And when you do that, all you have to do is put the wire nut on and turn until it won't turn anymore. And you see that the wire actually twists. See how these wires kind of twisted over themselves? And that means it's on tight. So if I pull on this, it's not going anywhere. This wire nut is not coming off. And that's how you know you have a nice tight connection between those wires. So it's your choice. You can use the wire nut or you can use the new lever nuts. These will allow up to 3 wires. In our mirror, we had 3 wires because we had the wire from the wall, we had the wire from the light fixture, and the wire from the new mirror. So that's one of the reasons why I use the triple Wago.
Now, once the wires are matched, use the wire nuts to connect them securely, and then carefully tuck the wires back into the electrical box. If the mirror has a quick connect system, go ahead and follow the manufacturer's instructions to complete the connection. But before hanging the mirror, go and turn the power back on at the source or at that breaker and test to make sure that everything is working with that mirror.
Now that the electrical work is complete, it's time to permanently install the mirror. Carefully align the hooks on the back of the mirror with the anchor screws you've already installed.
With the helper, slowly guide the mirror onto the brackets until it locks securely. Double check that everything is level, and if it looks slightly off, we'll go ahead and make any last-minute adjustments before finalizing this installation. Now, we tested out the various features of this mirror, such as using that touch sensor to power it on, adjusting the brightness, and even the color temperature, which I really nerded out with.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun to change from that bright white to the soft white.
Yep.
If everything is functioning correctly, the installation is complete. Clean off any fingerprints with a soft to dry microfiber cloth, and your new mirror is ready to use. With regular maintenance, your bathroom mirror will remain pristine and functional for years to come. Now, before we wrap up, let's discuss the different types of bathroom mirrors and what to consider when selecting one. Choosing the right mirror isn't only aesthetics. It also impacts functionality and the overall ambiance of your bathroom.
That's right. There are several styles of bathroom mirrors available. You've got framed mirrors that come with decorative borders that can really complement your bathroom's design, adding a little touch of elegance. Then there's frameless mirrors that offer a sleek, modern look without borders, making them versatile, and they allow for various decor and styles.
Absolutely. So lighted mirrors have that built-in lighting providing even illumination, and they're ideal for tasks like shaving or applying makeup. Some advanced models even feature an anti-fog technology and adjustable light settings. Medicine cabinet mirrors combine reflective surfaces with storage space, keeping your bathroom organized while maintaining functionality.
Yeah, and pretty much when you're selecting a bathroom mirror, just consider things like the size. The mirror should be proportionate to your vanity or sink area. And typically, it should be the same width or maybe slightly narrower than the vanity to provide a little bit of balance to that room. So measure the wall space to ensure the mirror fits comfortably without overpowering other elements.
That's a great tip. Shape is another factor. Round or oval mirrors introduce soft curves, adding a touch of elegance and contrasting with the straight lines of tiles or countertops. Rectangular or square mirrors offer a more traditional look and can be mounted horizontally or vertically depending on your preference.
Yeah, we did ours vertically because it just looked better.
It did.
Better. I don't know, that was our preference.
Yeah.
But you can go ahead and consider additional features like anti-fog, which ensures a clear reflection even after a hot shower, and integrated shelves for extra storage. Your choice should just align with your daily routine and your bathroom's overall design.
Right. Now, whatever style or features you choose, ensure the mirror complements your bathroom's decor and meets your functional needs. Remember, a well-chosen mirror can enhance both the aesthetic and practicality of your space.
All right, now that you know how to remove and replace a bathroom mirror, let's go over the tools you'll need for this project. Now, there's a list on screen, but here are some of our favorites. Things like the level. It really just projects that straight, accurate line on the wall, ensuring your mirror is evenly installed. It can even include measured markings, so that can sometimes help replace that tape measure.
Sure.
A putty knife or a multi-tool or a 5-in-1 tool is going to help with scraping off some of that adhesive, removing drywall paper without causing extensive damage. Drill and drill bits, really important. You got to have the right sized ones, the right material, and this is required for putting in those anchors and brackets. We also want to ensure using that voltage tester, favorite safety feature. Just make sure that you check the batteries. And this, again, helps check that whatever electrical project you're working on, there's no live connections on there. And then wire nuts. Now, we use Wagos for this for added convenience and security, but if not, you can use any appropriate wire nut. We would even recommend using electrical tape in addition for added security.
Sure. Now, let's go over some of our favorite materials you'll need to complete this project. Having these ready ahead of time helps you avoid delays and ensures a clean, professional-looking installation. You want to have those drop cloths to protect your floors, countertops, and fixtures from dust, adhesive, or any falling debris. We love that self-adhesive carpet film used to cover that mirror surface before removal to prevent shattering. You've got to have a good drywall primer to seal repairs and prepare the wall for a smooth paint finish. And of course, make sure you have the correct mirror mounting brackets or wall anchors. Depending on the type of mirror, these may be required for a secure installation. They could come with the mirror, but if they don't, you want to make sure you have the proper ones.
Yeah, just check the labeling and instructions before you go and buy it.
Get started, yeah.
Exactly. Now, you can find all of these tools and materials in the resource guide below. And all of these products, they are available at your local Home Depot store or online at homedepot.com. Okay, I think now it might be a good time just to answer some frequently asked questions.
All right, lay it on me.
All right, here we go. So, Robin, how do I choose the right size bathroom mirror?
Okay, that's a really good question. So selecting the right size mirror really depends on the size of your vanity and the overall dimensions of your bathroom. As a general rule, the mirror's width should not exceed the width of the vanity. A common design choice is to have the mirror about 70 to 80% of the vanity width for a balanced look. The height also matters. If you have taller ceilings or wall-mounted light fixtures, to choose a taller mirror to help reflect more light and make that space feel bigger. For a clean, modern look, many people prefer lighted mirrors to extend a few inches above eye level to give that even illumination for grooming tasks like applying makeup or shaving. If you have a dual vanity, you can either choose one large mirror that spans both sinks or install two separate mirrors, each one centered over its respective sink. So, Antonio, is it difficult to wire a bathroom mirror that comes with lights?
I feel like this is always the question of the day with any DIY project.
Right.
Now, first, the simple answer is if your mirror has that plug-in option, just simply plug it in to that GFCI protected outlet without doing any additional wiring. However, but it's very important that you follow all the safety guidelines and you take your time. Wiring a bathroom mirror, it might be intimidating when it comes with lights and things like that, but if you've never done this before, that's where that intimidation, that fear can come in. But you can do this. First things first, turn off the power at the breaker always. Any electrical project, you want to make sure you take that step. Also, use a voltage tester to make sure the circuit is completely off before proceeding. Just remember, check the batteries, make sure that they're fresh, that everything is good to go. You don't want to leave anything to chance. Most lighted mirrors have clearly marked wires also for that hot, neutral, and ground connection. So it's simply matching the colors. The black is your hot connections, the white are your neutral connections, and the green or bare copper wires are your grounding connections, and you're going to match that to that existing electrical box. Using wire nuts to secure the connections, maybe even some electrical tape for added measure, and tucking in the wires neatly into the electrical box before mounting that mirror is your next step. Now you can also use that electrical tape like we mentioned. It's just a nice little safety measure to add in as a homeowner. But overall, if you are not comfortable with electrical connections at all, it's probably just best to contact a professional licensed electrician.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Robin, on that note, what if there is no electrical box nearby?
If there's no electrical box near the mirror location, you may need to have one installed. A new electrical box provides a safe connection point for hard wiring, and it must meet local building codes. If you're not comfortable doing this yourself, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. Now, again, if you're new to electrical work, and yes, I'm going to keep pushing this, you can always check out Home Depot's electrical workshops at homedepot.com/workshops to learn about safe wiring practices before taking on any electrical projects yourself. But if you prefer to have a professional install your mirror, Home Depot offers mirror and lighting installation services. You can visit homedepot.com/services to learn more.
All right, I see what you did there. You're plugging in our workshops, right? Plugs, electrical.
I mean, they're super helpful, so of course I'm going to keep suggesting them. All right, we got one last question. What if my bathroom mirror doesn't work? What if the lights on my bathroom mirror don't work after I've connected everything?
Uh-oh, you got to sell your house. That's it. Move out, find a new place to live. No, but seriously, if your lighted mirror doesn't turn on after installation, there are some troubleshooting techniques that you can take before, getting completely worried. First, check that the circuit breaker is turned on. Not saying that's happened to me, just make sure, check that. And that outlet or the hardwire connections have power. So if you have like that GFCI outlet, it might have a little green indicator showing you that. Sometimes it might trip, so just push it in the reset button to make sure it's working. Now, if you use an outlet, try plugging in another device to see if something works into that specific outlet. If you went to hardwire connection, want to turn the power off and double check that your wire connections are safe and that they're secure. So when we said turn off the power, that's at the circuit breaker.
Right.
All right, not just turning off the switch.
No.
All right, you want to check that all the wires are securely connected with wire nuts. There's no stray wires. There's no loose connections or exposed wiring as well.
Right.
Now, if the light still doesn't turn on, that's when you have to sell the house and move out.
No, I don't think we have to go quite that far yet, do we?
That's aggressive. No. Just check if your mirror has a built-in touch sensor. There might be a dimmer switch on it. There might be a touch sensor. Just kind of have to know what you purchased. Again, some models, they require a long press or multiple taps to activate different lighting modes. So again, this is where you just got to consult that mirror's instruction by the manufacturer just to verify the settings. Now, if you've gone through all of that and it's still not working, the issue could be a faulty unit.
Yeah.
So that's where you might want to contact the manufacturer and follow up for warranty support.
Absolutely. Now, if you're unsure about your wiring, it's always a good idea to call a professional electrician to inspect that installation.
100%. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap things up, Robin. Today we talked about a lot. We walked you through everything you need to know about removing and installing a bathroom mirror. And we started things off by simply identifying how that existing mirror is attached, whether it's clipped, glued, or both. And we also talked about the safest removal method.
Absolutely. Once the mirror was removed, we showed you how to prepare your wall for a new installation, including how to scrape off old adhesive, patch damaged drywall, and prime and paint for a smooth finish.
Yep, and then we covered how to measure and mark the proper placement for your new mirror, using a level to ensure everything is straight and even. We also discussed mounting options, including wall anchors and on-stud installation.
Now, for those installing a lighted mirror, we walked through both the plug-in and hardwiring options, including safety tips for working with electrical connections. And this is my last plug.
No.
If you're new to electrical work, remember to check out our homedepot.com workshops. It's homedepot.com/workshops for guidance on basic wiring and safety measures.
I'm not shocked by all of these shameless plugs. All right, we discussed the different types of bathroom mirrors available and what to consider when choosing the right size and style for your space.
And we answered common questions about your mirror installation.
Good stuff. Now, if you do have more questions about this project, you can email us at workshopslive@homedepot.com or simply visit homedepot.com for more how-to guides and resources.
A well-installed mirror can make a huge difference in your bathroom, improving both functionality and style. Take your time, follow each step carefully, and your new mirror will look great for years to come.
Thanks for watching and for shopping at the Home Depot, and we hope to see you next time at our next how-to workshop.